In the song Truckin', Jerry Garcia sang what a long, strange trip it has been. And for those of us who were born and grew up during the Cold War, it was at times a harrowing trip as well. Some of us took that old saying, "Eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we may die," to heart. Some of us took it too much to heart. Today's generation believes that phrase comes from Shakespeare or some other distant author. It does have some basis in Scripture, but not stated exactly that way. Its true origin is lost to time. Our children have come of age in a world where there are approximately 11,000 nuclear warheads total between the U.S. and Russia, with only 2,800 that can be sent off on a moment's notice. Baby boomers grew up in a world where both sides had about 60,000 nuclear bombs total, all of which could be sent off at any time. Growing up under the specter of nuclear war and living with the fear of being killed during a nuclear apocalypse, many took the saying to heart and partied every day like there was no tomorrow. And a few times, it looked like there wouldn't be a tomorrow. With the 4 nuclear powers setting off atomic and hydrogen bombs in the atmosphere and irradiating the world's populace in the process, is it any surprise that some cancers are now seemingly more prevalent in baby boomers than in past generations? Our parents saw the free love and drugs of the 60s and 70s as a cultural aberration and the possible end of polite society. They didn't understand that the crop of fear that had been sown in the 50s and early 60s led to a harvest of hedonism that became the sexual revolution, and that the misuse and abuse of drugs and alcohol was a byproduct of being taught how to duck and cover so that we knew how to maybe survive a nuclear blast, all the while being told we probably wouldn't. They and the government were trying to protect us, but instead instilled in us an overarching dread of being turned into nothing more than a charred shadow on a sidewalk. Some of us chose to ignore the threat, essentially whistling past the graveyard, and as we grew older and settled down, we would only use alcohol or drugs occasionally. Some of us, however, continued on the path of drinking constantly and using other substances to the detriment of our health. Some forswore overuse of various substances only to become addicted to sex or gambling, leading to the destruction of any relationship that they'd hoped to have, as well as leading to financial difficulties that sometimes could not be overcome. If you're not going to live long enough to suffer the consequences of your lifestyle, why worry about it? The only problem with that thinking was that some of us never stepped back and looked at the situation long enough to realize that a nuclear war was one that no one would want to fight because everybody would lose. Even if they did realize that the threat that had been drilled into their psyches was unlikely to ever happen, some had become so set in their patterns that they either saw no reason to change or had become, to an extent, addicted to their lifestyle choices and couldn't see their ways to seek the help needed to change. Drinking too much, smoking too much, and never going to see a doctor unless we broke something or were deathly ill. Any of us who chose those slow paths to our own demise would leave our loved ones to deal with the questionable choices that some of us made. Never wanting to cause their loved ones anguish with worries about their health, they would, in the end, cause them far greater anguish with their early passing. Well, that's all for today. Feel free to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Don't forget to click the little red bell. If you'd like to support the channel, visit our Patreon so we can keep bringing you more videos. So long, stay safe, and thanks for watching.